Let's move on now to Objective 6, when we're looking at Porter's value chain and how value chain analysis is used to identify and evaluate our resources and capabilities. This is an important concept because later when we look at business level strategy and corporate strategy, we'll be looking at the relationship between decisions made in the value chain and the different types of business level strategy that those decisions are aligned to. So things you would do in the value chain when following a particular business level strategy. So value chain analysis is a method that allows the firm to understand the parts of its operations that create value and those that do not. It's also a template that the firms use to understand their cost position and identify the multiple means of implementing a chosen business level strategy. We haven't defined business level strategy yet. We're doing that in a couple of weeks. The essential idea is that different activity in an organization can create value. And if you need to add value at as low a cost as possible, and identify ways that you can capture the value that you've added by the ways that you structure your business process. Traditional views of how an organization worked focused only on primary activities as sources of adding value, but Porter's model of value chain analysis adds support activities. So primary activities are those involved directly with the creation of the product or creation of the service, its sale, its distribution, and its after-sales service, its customer service. Support activities provide the support necessarily for the primary activities to take place. And these activities should be examined relative to competitors' abilities and rated as inferior for both primary and support, so you know where your advantage is and where their advantages are. So if we look at value, what is the value chain? The primary activities in the value chain are inbound logistics, getting raw materials in or getting the components if you're doing a service. Operations, which is some type of transformation of the raw materials, the inputs, into the product. Outbound logistics, getting the product or service to the customer. Marketing and sales. And finally, service and support. Service and support has two roles. It can be a cost center in itself, but it can also, and therefore continue to bring in income after you sold the product. But also service and support can be used to maintain customer loyalty. If we look at those items, you can see in an organization, when you've probably talked about human resource management, that those sort of activities, the activities that tend to be linked to bonuses and performance bonuses, because they are traditionally have been perceived as the way that the most direct contribution to the profit margin is made. In the past, actions like procurement, purchasing, technological development and R&D, human resource management and firm infrastructure have all been seen as costs. But more recently, and under Porter's model, and Porter's model's been around for maybe 30 years now, those activities are also seen as ways to gain a competitive advantage. Apple's a technological development, which is based on the nature of the people in the organization, is part of what gives it its competitive advantage, for example. So let's define what each of these steps in the value chain are. Inbound logistics is any activity that's about getting the raw materials or the inputs to a service into the organization. So it's materials handling, it's warehousing, it's inventory control. It's how you receive, store, and then finally disseminate inputs into a product. You want to have those goods and services available, that the inputs into your production process available so that your production process isn't delayed, but you don't want to have too much warehousing, too much expenditure, too much investment in that, because it's a cost. And that cost, so you want to have the things arriving just in time so that they can be transformed, but you want to have them in place so that there's a continuation of your productions. Continuity was the word I was trying to say. Operations or any activities needed to convert these inputs into the final product or service. Machining, package, assembling, equipment, transformation, processing of raw data into information that can be sold, are all examples of operations. Outbound logistics are getting the good or service to the customers. So finished good warehousing, materials handling, order processing. And with services, and if you think about when you buy software online, that order processing is the most important of those. Marketing and sales is how you attract and retain customers. And to market and sell products effectively or services effectively, you need advertising, you need promotion, you need distribution channels, you may need a sales force, you may, depending on the nature of your product and service, you may need different combinations of those things. And finally, service is designed to enhance and maintain the product's value. So you're seen as having good customer service, but service itself can in fact bring in income. Service and support can bring in income. Once you've bought an Apple phone, an iPhone, you're basically trapped in their ecosystem for purchasing things. You're trapped in their services. You're trapped in their app store. Each activity, so all those processes can bring more money into for Apple. Similarly, a car dealership, once you've been sold the car, the service and support of that car is also about retaining customer loyalty for the next time you want to purchase a vehicle, but also for as a cost center that brings in income to the dealership. Again, each activity in each of these areas needs to be examined relative to your competitor's ability to identify whether it is an activity that gives you an advantage. But it's not only the primary activities, as I said before, that can give you a value-creating advantage. Activities in procurement, sourcing the product, and when we talk about outsourcing, we'll talk about other levels of this. Activities needed to purchase the inputs and produce the firm's products. If you can get the things at the right price at a higher quality, that may be something that will be valued ultimately by customers and give you a competitive advantage. Technological development, your research and development, both about the product and about the processes that you use to produce the product more efficiently. Just recently, Tesla has bought a capacitor company. Now, there are two reasons why they've bought that capacitor company. One reason is long-term, because ultimately batteries are likely to be replaced by some form of capacitor, and this company has that benefit, that technology. But the other reason they've bought it is the company has a technology of dry cell manufacturing, which reduces the time it takes to produce the existing batteries. Not sure exactly how it works, but it basically halves the drying time of the construction of a battery. So that will speed up Tesla's production speed of its batteries, but also reduce the time to market of the production process, therefore bring in more income. Technological development can be about process equipment, it can be about basic research and product design, it can be about how you deal with servicing and support. Doesn't necessarily need to be high tech, it can be just improved processes. Human resource management is about how you recruit, hire, train and develop and compensate personnel. One of the things that's been in the media recently is that VW, in developing its ID3, its new electric vehicle, which they intend to launch as in a large batch later this year, so that they can enter the market with significant critical mass, they've got software issues. Now those software issues can be loaded later into the car, but they've got software issues with their vehicle. One of the key problems that they have had is sourcing people with the right technical skills to design the software for the car. And the reason that this is such a new process for them is that vehicle technology in the past hasn't been one central processor. It's been lots of small standalone computers, small standalone devices. And in the modern electric vehicle market, they're going to be using the same type of framework that Tesla uses, with a similar single CPU, a single computer, single brain with a single set of software, and therefore they need to redesign and create this whole new software environment. And they made choices about who they would partner with as well. So they've had trouble recruiting, hiring, training staff, and keeping staff within that area, which is one of the key delays in the software development, which is a key component of what they're doing with their new electric car launch. Firm infrastructure is management, planning, accounting, legal support, government relations, all of which can contribute to the value chain. And through that infrastructure, that infrastructure can also be used to identify external opportunities and threats, and to assess resources and capabilities, and support the core competencies that enable you to add value. So that's Objective 6. Now watch the video that we've put related to Objective 6, which is the Tesla video, and then we'll come back and we will look at Objective 7, which is on outsourcing.